Are you planning a wedding? Have you booked your photographer yet? You might want to watch this interview first because it will help you determine the right photographer for you. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Weddings with Zita. Here's your host and producer, Zita Christian.
Hi, everyone. I am particularly delighted tonight to introduce you to my guest. She's a good friend, Carrie Patterson. Carrie, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm particularly delighted to be here as well.
Good. Now, Carrie was on the show many years ago. In fact, not this show, but she was on Full Bloom a long time ago. And we brought great big pictures in and talked weddings and have a lot more reason to talk weddings now since I'm also in the wedding business. So I have a whole different perspective, totally different questions to ask you.
Okay.
But one of the things that I wanted to establish first, because I like to let you know who the guest is, so you're not wasting your time planning a wedding, booking a photographer. This woman is a serious pro. She has photographed, her photographs have been in, Interior Design Magazine, L'Oreal, W Magazine, headshots for Otis Elevator, KPMG Accounting, Say Yes to the Dress. Get that? Say Yes to the Dress. And also the Bushnell, which is where I met you.
Yes.
So I want to focus today on the whole idea of weddings. And one of the things I think is really important is same thing when any wedding vendor meets with a couple the first time. There's certain things that you want to know, that you as the wedding professional want to know about the couple, and certain things that they're going to want to know about you because they're booking the photographer. So when you're meeting with them for the first time, what are the things that you feel you need to know about them as a couple? I mean, you want to be sure you're the right person.
I can tell that you're in the wedding industry
Yes.
now because you know that question is you are aware that the fact that the relationship between the couple that's getting married and the vendors that they have, especially the ones that they are working with intimately, such as the officiant, like you're doing, and the photographer, that's a very intimate relationship and a very personal one, and that the relationship matters, not just that they want that photographer, or they want that style, or they need to want that person to be there. And it's got to be kind of mutual for it to really work out in its very best.
Absolutely. It's got to be comfortable for everybody. And it just occurred to me, because I've known you for so long, I understand why I've introduced you as Carrie Patterson, but what you are seeing as the ID on the, for the website is cdraghiphoto.com. So you are Carrie Draghi professionally.
Professionally, I'm Carrie Draghi. Personally, I'm Carrie Patterson.
Carrie Patterson, okay, yeah. Because you got married.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I was there.
I've been on both sides of the camera. So.
Yeah, very cool. It's a whole different concept, isn't it? Like when you're on the other side.
Yes.
So just a little
I hate
aside.
it, by the way. I hate it.
Did you? I wondered about that. Like, what's it like when you're the one being photographed?
Well, once you have such a knowledge about lighting and posing and what light would look better for my facial structure, when the camera turns on you, I kind of freeze. I kind of all these other things go through my mind, and not on a wedding day, because it was so filled with other emotions and happiness.
Yeah.
And we had friends that were photographing us, and it was lovely. It was a wonderful experience. But in general, when the camera turns on me, when I'm on the other side of it, it's kind of a horrifying thing for me now. The more I learn, the more I kind of get scared of the camera, because I know how much. Yes, it is kind of like that.
Yeah, but you just mentioned about the light. About we were standing on the beach there, and for the wedding, and you got the light going on, and it's natural light, and you have to deal with that. You can't
You don't get to. We only have so much we can do as professionals.
Very, very true. But I do want to talk about the whole thing about light and that whole concept. I think one of the big things when somebody's looking for a photographer, and I'm guessing here, for you to know about the couple, the difference between, you've got somebody who wants everything formal, something
Right.
that I might have seen, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, certain formal shots, or somebody who wants something very candid. Talk to me a little bit about that first. Like,
Okay.
what's the going thing?
Well, the word in the industry is candid and is we're unobtrusive, and you'll barely notice that we're there, and whether that is or isn't the case, depending upon whoever it is that you hire. Everyone seems to be looking for more candidates, but one of the things that's kind of been, I don't want to say forgotten, but an art that's been, that you don't see many people doing as much anymore, is that there's still a need for some more formal, and I don't mean formal in the sense that that it's exactly specifically posed like we used to pose back in the film days, but the art of capturing the family portraits and doing them very quickly, because when they're left just to sort of chance and, we'll get candids of everyone, inevitably someone is missed. And we've very often been the last person to take a nice portrait of someone who passes away, a grandparent. And even though, say, the couple even has those pictures in their own possession, in the moment of grieving and trying to coordinate memorial services and things like that, we often get the call, do you have that picture? It was a picture of my grandpa and me, and we obviously have things backed up for years and years and years. And so in light of the whole candid versus formal, a lot of people would consider that family portrait to be more of a formal request. But it's still, to me, it's a necessary request. So we talk with all of our couples and we find out, every wedding is different, every couple is different, every dynamic is different. That's why I can still love doing this after so many years. And as you know, they're all different. And the composition of how much we're going to spend, how we're going to break down the portraits versus candids and all that varies. So what we want to do is meet ahead of time with our clients and make sure that we know exactly what it is that they're looking for. I always tell people, if a picture is not going to make it into an album or onto a wall somewhere, then it's time best spent doing something else. But so you don't necessarily need a picture of you with every single person in your family individually, unless you want that. But what you do need is a picture of who was there, because it is the documentation of two families joining together. And sometimes it's the last time this group of people is in the same place. So it's a shame when it gets overlooked. But certainly we love to spend more time on the candids and the fun and the creative, but without losing sight of the fact that some of those formals are still very important.
And sometimes I think that also speaks to the idea that different people might have a different interpretation of the word formal. I mean, you
Yes.
could have three different couples and they might be thinking, I don't want formal, but referring to something entirely different. So you need to be able to draw from them some way. Like, give me an example of what you call formal. Give me an example of, or I don't know, do you show them photos and say, do you like this, do you like that?
Well, they have access to the whole portfolio that we share online and that we put out in social media and things. And I don't think that we attract a client who wants something that's stylized from 30 years ago. And I think by nature of what you put out there is the type of client that ends up kind of
Yes.
being attracted to you.
Yes.
So we don't typically have to go through the process of how formal do you want this formal to be. They kind of have already seen how we address the formal pictures, and most couples really want us to scoot through that as quickly as we can, so we can have the day not be about pictures, but have it be about having fun and documentation and the stuff that the storytelling piece of photography.
Sure.
Not just the group pictures.
But that also speaks to the need for a couple when they're doing their research to pick a photographer, it's not just a matter of looking at what the costs are, and we'll talk about that later, but looking at the style. Go to the Instagram, go to the website, go to the places where you're going to see photos and get an idea, do I like this particular look? Can I see myself in a photo like that?
Right.
So I think that's really important for the couple to be aware of. Now I want to get into some specific things about light.
Okay.
Because from knowing you, I know that the hallmark of a really, really good photographer is the ability to work with light. And I've got a couple photos I want to show here, and I want you to talk to me a little about these.
Well, Zita, that's what the word means, photography. It means writing with light.
I did not know, but when you say that, it makes
Photography.
sense. Right.
It is all about lighting.
Oh,
There
I
you go.
love that.
Touch something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I know.
show me these pictures. You want
And
to
I'm
ask
going to
me?
use that in a sentence
There you
tonight
go.
to
Perfect.
practice it. All right. So we're going to pull up picture number 1.
Okay.
And this one shows this, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. This bride and groom in the silhouette and that beautiful blue sky. So my gosh, that is so gorgeous.
Thank you.
What was the challenge with getting that shot?
So, a silhouette is actually not too difficult. It's all manual settings. You can't shoot on auto and get something like that to come out. You've got to know how to manipulate your camera, and presumably most people can. But if I were to point out some of the things that really make that picture kind of a little bit extra special, first of all, what you don't see is Dan's off on the right side, throwing that veil up in the air and darting out of the picture, which is...
Oh, that's how it got up in the air.
Well, sometimes there's
Okay.
wind, and sometimes we have to be creative.
Okay.
So, but you've got to also make that look natural. You can't have it pulled taut and have it look like it might be wind. So, but if you look very specifically about how the bride and the groom are posed, it's not just a silhouette. Their bodies aren't straight on towards each other. You'll notice there's just enough light between
Yes.
her hip and his hip that you can define the difference between their bodies. And the
Yes.
same thing with the arms and their faces. Their shoulders aren't turned exactly to the side because you would lose both arms. So you'll notice that her arm is back just a tiny bit so that we can show a little bit of light coming between her waist and her arm. Otherwise, she might look like she's a couple sizes larger than she is. And nobody wants that picture, ever.
Sure.
So silhouettes are a little bit more complicated than they might seem, and also getting the composition between the two trees so that I can get the light just where it was. And of course, in order for me to do that, I'm on the ground. So I spend a lot of the time with my camera
Yes.
on the ground, actually. But those are some of the things that go into a portrait like that, or a picture like that people don't realize. It's not as simple. Anyone can take a silhouette if you look it up how to do it, but how do you pose different body types to get something that dramatic and that beautiful?
Oh, that is just beautiful. And I had no idea. And when you're talking about it, now I'm seeing all those little cuts of light that give the shape of the silhouette.
Otherwise, it just looks like a blob.
Yeah. All right. So I want to get to another photo, and this one also such a great show of light. So in photo number 2, we've got, oh my gosh, this is so good. This black and white. I mean, you're talking about Candid. This is definitely a Candid photo. But love what you've done with the light here. All these guys sitting here smoking cigars, black and white. They're outside, right? Yeah, that's outside.
They're outside at St. Clement's Castle.
Okay. And all the laughing, the smiles. What was the response to that photo when you showed that to the groom? And I hope that he, was able to show it to his groomsmen as well. Because I looked at that photo and I thought, oh my gosh, that's an ad for a cigar company.
Yes. I wasn't there when they saw the picture. I know they were very pleased with their pictures and left us a really lovely review and stuff. But I kind of want to point out that like the word candid, to talk about candid again, it has the appearance of a candid. And it's candid in the sense that we're all having fun, no one's posing, no one's looking at the camera, but yet a lot of thought went into how they're set up and where we have flashes that are positioned on the ground behind them in order to be able to light. So the flashes are pointing towards my camera because I have to be able to light the smoke. So, and I have to have them, we have them sort of set up compositionally in triangles, if you notice, and in things that are artistically a desirable parts of composition of an image. So, but the fun thing about that is that was a picture that the groom said, I want to take some pictures with the guys in cigars, because we have some of those. Again, people will hire you based upon some of the things that they see, and they had seen a picture like that and wanted to do the cigar picture. And so, but by the time this is towards the end of the night, and we've been working with the bride and the groom and the bridal party all day, and they know us well, and we're laughing, and we're having, so that candid feeling, even though it's a posed picture, comes from the relationship. Back to question number one, it comes from the relationship between the couple and the photographer. So, I had to drag these guys out away from the bar, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't hard because we already had so much fun earlier, like, we want to do this picture outside. And then actually in the moment, I showed them some pictures in the back of my camera. So I can say that I was there when they saw them, and they were excited about them. Yeah, they look so cool. The guys look so cool.
They do.
So, and I, just like every bride wants to look the most beautiful she ever has on her wedding day, the groom wants to look pretty darn cool himself too. And that is like, that's the epitome of cool right there.
It really was. That was a great picture. Yeah, that was. And that just goes back to that whole idea of it's not luck.
No.
I mean, certainly, not that luck doesn't play a role in certain things. And we do have a photo later that there is something else involved.
There's a little bit of luck in that.
But there's certainly so much skill. When you talk about lighting the smoke. It's like,
right. Oh, and we had video lights facing, like lighting them. And we did it all in about 5 minutes. Maybe they were outside for 5 minutes.
Oh
yeah, because they had to get back to the party. That was the important part, right?
Oh,
the picture was
wow.
just something they wanted to do very quickly. So they wouldn't be laughing like that if we were still out there after 20 minutes trying to get that right. So no, we had video lights to light them, so it was a soft lighting on their faces, but harsh lighting coming from behind. And the blending of the two is what gives that picture such personality and contrast.
Excellent, excellent. I have another photo here. Also, this whole idea of candid and light, and this photo is so pretty. And I love how you, I don't know if blur is the right word, but the softening in the background so that their faces, and they pop.
Yeah, I will teach you another word for photography.
Yeah, please.
That is called the depth of focus.
The depth of focus.
Right? The depth of field.
Okay.
So we achieve that. That is not a Photoshop filter. That doesn't, actually I don't think there's any editing done to that picture at all. I'm not big into Photoshop effects. But what makes that picture really magical in the way that focus just kind of falls off. First of all, I have to know which direction to put them in relationship to where the sun is at that moment, so that you'll see that the sun is somewhat behind them, so that the groom has dark hair, he would be lost in against that dark green background if I wasn't able to position them according to the sun. So the sun has a lot to play with that. This is where the other picture was very much created light, artificial light. We created it, we brought in the flash. Right. This is more like knowing how to use natural light. So the other piece that makes that picture work is that it's lens selection. It's the lenses that we bring. Some photographers that are out there, and you'll see this in a variance in what people charge, is they're bringing 1 or 2 lenses, and I have about 10 and 2 camera bodies and a backup in the car. And this is done with a really long lens so that I'm far away and I can create that beautiful soft fall off. And that's, so their interaction with each other, I'm also not right up in their face. That's also kind of magical about why that has that beautiful candid feel to it. It's their own interaction, their own energy.
That is just gorgeous. I want to go to another photo here too, number 4. This is the one, the first look photo. That whole idea of the first look itself. Explain that for people who might not be familiar with the concept.
Well, the idea is that the bride and groom, whether they will see each other before they actually walk down the aisle towards each other. And it's a concept that's become very popular in the last few years. And frankly, when it started, I didn't think it would take off in New England. I'm from out west, and a lot of my friends out west kept saying, you should do the first look, And I really didn't think it would take off. We're a little too more traditional, and everybody likes that moment when the groom sees each other. we do this, when we do this now, and it's really probably 90% of our couples want the first look now. And lots of photographers will want the first look, will encourage their couples to do a first look because of logistics. It gives them more time, it gives them, more flexibility with them. But in my case, I have come to love the first look in the sense that the bride in a typical wedding without the first look will see her groom or her partner for the first time in front of everyone. It's a pretty sterile moment. They hand their flowers off to the person next to them. They take each other's hands. They barely look at each other. They're both overwhelmed. They turn, they get married, and I think they're still in shock when they're in their ceremony. I really do.
Yeah.
And so versus when they see each other prior, there's more intimacy. As you can see in the picture, there's typically a little bit more motion. The couple decides whether they want to have everybody, their family and friends there, or sometimes it's just the couple and us.
Yes.
That's why it's important that you like your photographer. But they'll be able to hold each other, to compliment each other, to
Yes.
enjoy that moment in a different way. And then I think it gives them two special moments. And I think that then they can be a little bit more present in their actual ceremony. And that's a theory, but it's
But
what I
I
seem to observe.
I think it's a good theory. I also think, it also gives them that moment where traditionally, they'll have separated the night before.
Right.
And so they have that moment where they can get together just before the wedding
Yeah.
starts. They have that first look, and it's like saying, we are together. We are going
We're
to
in
do
this
this together.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. And I love the other way too. There's
Yep.
pros and cons for each one. So, do you always do engagement photos with the couples? Because I'm thinking that's a great way to get comfortable with them.
Yes and no. We always recommend them, but some people, it's a great, to sort of, sometimes people will take it out to sort of save money for photography. But we still sort of recommend, well, let's do a miniature one. And engagement sessions mean lots of things to different people. I've been to Baltimore to photograph one. We've done New York and Boston a ton of times. Sometimes they're big events like that, and sometimes they just want 1 or 2 pictures. So they all mean different things. It is a great way to get to know a couple. I've been working with so many couples over so many years that I feel like I'm pretty good at reading different types of personalities and not to generalize. And certainly it gives me an opportunity to learn more about them too. But they're not necessary, but they're fun, and it is a great building, like confidence builder. If somebody's
Sure.
nervous about wedding
Yes.
pictures, I definitely encourage them to do one.
I'm going to skip forward here a little bit and go to, let's pull up photo number 5. When I first saw this photo, I thought, oh wow, a winter wedding, and here we're taping this on the first day of spring, and we are waiting for a snowstorm.
Waiting for a snowstorm. Again.
And again, and we're in New England, and we've got all these gorgeous twinkling lights and how they've blended. So, is this a winter wedding, and what are the challenges of a winter
No,
wedding?
Zita. It is not a winter wedding. If you look at the groom's flower, he's wearing a
Right.
daisy. There's a beautiful story behind this, and sometimes I tear up when I tell the story, which is why it remains one of my favorite pictures. This was I want to say it was probably end of March, April, something like that. I'd have to go back and look, but the bride's father had passed away the day of her wedding. I want to say it was 6, 7, 8 years prior, and they were very close, and she danced to her father's favorite song with someone special in her life. And during that song, I happened to look outside, and it was snowing. And we checked the precipitation probably more than the bride and groom do, because we have to know what we need to bring for gear and things.
Right.
There was no chance of precipitation. So I looked outside, the song ended, we ran outside, we set up the lights, again, in and out in 5 minutes, and come back with this picture. By the time we take down the lights, the snow is gone. I'm downloading the picture at the wedding for backup, and we don't typically share, pull people aside to look at the pictures, but the mom was walking by, and I said, it snowed. So I showed her the picture, and she started to cry. And I found out that it had snowed the day that her father passed away, so over many years ago, on that day, there was a freak spring snowstorm, and she drove home from the hospital in the snow. So when did that happen? I said, it happened when she was dancing to her dad's song. And that was one of those moments where, not every photographer can take that picture. And I felt like, I don't want to sound cheesy, but I felt like I was there for that reason.
Yeah.
I looked outside. I had no reason to look outside. And there was the snow, and we were able to deliver that in the brief moment that it happened so we could capture her dad at her wedding.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah, isn't it? We have
Yes.
so many great stories like that.
And we are down to just a couple minutes, and I've
Okay.
got 2 quick photos to show. Let's look at the couple on the staircase, and just give me a real quick, what's the significance of this one?
Oh, that's a luck picture, but it's a luck, and knowing what to do the minute that you see it. So this is in City Hall in Hartford, and similar to the moment where the snow started, it's in and out, it's
Yeah.
gone. I've been in the stairway a ton of times, and I have never seen the light hit the wall like that. Looked up, saw it, said, quick, 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 boom, it was gone in 5 minutes. And that's all lit naturally from sun coming across the room and just landing on the staircase.
Beautiful.
So,
All right, Carrie, we have one last photo.
okay.
And this one I love because I love the idea of, like, once you're working with a photographer, that photographer can become your family photographer. So
You're stuck with us.
There you go. So this is the dad and his baby.
This is a baby. Yes, we do. I have a full service portrait studio. So we are the kind of photographer that doesn't just show up and shoot your wedding. We are around for a long time, and that's the kind of relationships that we build with our clients. That's my other love. I love the weddings. I love the babies and the families, and we
Yes.
go on. We do, like I said, mentioned the corporate stuff. We do all sorts of things, but that's a special love of mine.
And as we're going to have to close the show, I can't believe we're out of time. So I do want you to know, let me just emphasize, Carrie Patterson, professionally Carrie Draghi, cdraghiphoto.com. And we didn't get to all these gorgeous albums
Oh, I know.
that you have
It's
here
like
on the table because
French door
there's so
albums
many
and-
beautiful ideas. But I want to thank you very, very much for making the trip and sharing all this information with
Thank
us.
you for having me.
And I want to say thank you also to my crew. I want to say thank you to everybody who's out in the audience. I love to tell people for this particular show, I think it's fitting because we're talking weddings.
Right.
Happiness in a marriage is co-created. Just remember to do your part. And join us again next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Zita.
Are you planning a wedding or renewing your vows? Let today's leading wedding vendors inspire and guide you. To learn about upcoming guests and join the discussion, like us on Facebook, Zita TV. Weddings with Zita is a program of Moon River Rituals. For more information, visit zitatv.com.